I recently saw a post in a community that I'm a part of, and somebody was really spinning, thinking about how to add community to their business. They were like, okay, so what do I do in my free community? And how do I differentiate my free community from my paid community? And then what about I have this like membership community that's like a low dollar membership. And then I have this high ticket mastermind. Should they all be in the same community? Do I just have one community? And then there's different tiers and levels. And what does that look like? I imagine that at one point in your business, you have asked the same questions. You've wondered, what do I use this particular community for? What's the purpose of it? Or should I just have one? That feels like it would be a lot easier. Or does this product even need a community? So I want to share with you what I shared with this individual. And the first thing I said was, if you haven't created a product yet, I want you to slow down and I want you to take a step back. And here's why. It's not just because you need to figure it out with one product before you try and do it with 3, 4, or 5 products, which is what it sounded like this guy was doing. But it has more to do with what I'm seeing shift in the online community space. So the old model of community creation is that we create a product based on what we think our audience needs. And then we try and sell that product. And we realize that in selling the product, it's going to sell a lot better by slapping a community on there, right? Or maybe you've listened to some of my episodes and you're like, Shana says that they're going to retain a lot better and they're going to ascend into my higher level programs if I have a community. So I'm going to have a community for this. That's really the old model, is a product first model. I believe that our industry is moving to a community first model, a community led model. What does that mean? It means that we create the community first and then we build the products based on the wants and needs of our community. What that allows us to do is actually create a much better product that is likely to help them achieve that success much faster and easier because you're really tuned in and dialed in with what they actually need and want. But it's also going to convert higher because they're basically telling you what they want and asking you for it. And then you are creating it, right? I know there's some nuances there because there's lots that they don't know that they need in order to achieve the success that they want. But you get the general idea, right? We start with the community. Now, for some of you, this is actually a free group, if you will. Now, if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you know that I don't use the word community interchangeably with free group. Community is a group of people who are working together towards a common cause and building common connection around that. So when we think about community, that can happen at live events, it can happen on Zoom calls. It doesn't necessarily have to be a group, but I know that's what most of you are thinking about. So for the sake of this conversation and all being on the same page, just for this conversation, when we talk about community, we're going to be talking about a free group or a group, not necessarily free group because we will talk about the paid version. But if you start with a free group of people inside of a community, whether it be Facebook or whatever platform you decide to use, then you have the opportunity to ask questions and to learn. Now, the question this person was asking was, how do I make sure that I'm not providing too much value for the free groups, that they don't want to join the paid thing, or that my paid people don't feel like they're upset because I'm giving so much value in the free group? I know that many of you have this concern because I see it in Facebook groups and program groups that I'm in all the time. Everybody's asking this. Oh, how do I make sure I don't over deliver in this one group and then they're all upset over here? It's less about that, because when you get really focused on the purpose and the intention of the group, then you create to that purpose. And so the experience is different. The content is different. In this thread, somebody left a comment saying, oh, in the free group, you teach the what, but you don't teach the how. The how comes in the paid program. And I hate that model, frankly. I don't think that's the right model. I do believe that if we really want to help people make progress in our free communities, we need to be teaching them the how. And if they're not making progress in our free communities, why the heck would they ever pay us? Right? So if you've been implementing that model of teach the what, but not the how, I want you to rethink this, because when people make progress, that's when they see you as somebody that can help them get a result. They've got to win. And they're like, man, if this is the free stuff, how much better is the paid stuff? How much faster and how much more progress am I going to be able to make by being a part of their paid program? But if you're so busy worried about teaching the how, that you're not actually helping them make progress, that's going to be a problem for you. Okay. So we're going to throw that old mentality out. I just had to bring that up because I saw that in the thread. But what do we want to do? We want to think about our membership path or success path, if you will. Basically, think about the ideal customer for your core product. If you already have a core product, right? I have an ideal customer for this core product. Your free community's job is to, one, attract in the person who is potentially a great buyer for your product or is close to, is on the path to being a great buyer for your product. And then in that free community, the goal is to do three things, okay? It's to create trust. That's where the connection comes in. They're building trust with you. They feel connected to you and or your team. Two is to build your subject matter authority. So you need to make sure that you are building your authority as an expert in that subject matter, sharing case studies or articles or podcasts or whatever it is that you're doing to show them, hey, I know what I'm doing here. I can actually help you. I've been there, I've done that, or I've helped people do this. And then the third thing is to help these people become perfect potential customers. That means that you need to ask good questions. You need to listen. You need to find out where they are in their journey, what their challenges are. And then you need to identify the gap between where they are, what their beliefs are, what they're facing, what their challenges are, what the knowledge gap is, and where they need to be in order for your product to be an absolute no-brainer, right? For it to be a heck yes for them. What your free content and your free support and your free community does is it fills that gap. That could be a knowledge gap. I don't know how to do these things. It could be a resource gap. I don't have the tools to do these things. It could be a mindset gap. I don't have the belief I need to do these things. What is that gap? And then your free content, your free community is filling that gap so that when you put this perfect offer in front of them, they're ready for it. They're ready for it because you've done the work inside of your free content, right? Now, if you do the new school model, the cool part is you create a free community around a group of people that you know you want to serve and that you know you can help in some way, shape, or form. And you ask questions and you start discussions to get to know them. And then you start to identify where they want to go. Where do they want to be? What are they trying to accomplish in their life, in their business, whatever it might be? And then you go, where can I best help them? I see here are all their dreams and aspirations. Here are their goals. Here are the challenges getting in the way of them being able to do that. And here's how I know I can best help. And then you craft the product around that. Now, it could be a quick $37 workshop, right? It could be a $9 a month newsletter, or it could be a mastermind. I don't really care what level of product it is. That part doesn't really matter as much as the fact that you are creating the community first, and then you're crafting the product for them based on the needs of the community, right? And if you're doing that, then it's only natural to give them the opportunity to go deeper with you by investing in the paid product that you created based on the needs that they have shown you. So I want you to change your thinking around this. And then when you have your paid community, he was asking all kinds of questions about what kind of community. Yeah, ideally, your paid community is going to have a separate community. Now, not all memberships and subscriptions and courses, not everything needs a community. My community training course doesn't have a community. I say that all the time, right? If you have a newsletter, a $9 a month newsletter, you don't need another group for that newsletter, right? If you have a private podcast that people are paying for, you probably don't need another group for that private podcast. Those people can still live within the ecosystem of the free community. But oftentimes, you have a paid product for people who are at a different level, who are learning a very specific skill, and who are ready for deeper level conversations. So then in that case, you do want to have another community that is specifically for people who are in your paid program. Again, don't just create a product and then slap community onto it and then wonder why nobody is engaging. I have a whole episode on if you need to create a community for your product or not. Do you actually need a community, right? So you've got to really get clear on that purpose. But if you do find that there is a purpose to get accountability, to get coaching, to get support, to connect with other people who are on the journey with them, because it's really hard for them to find, right? If you decide that you want to create community elements like a platform or Zoom calls or whatever it might be, live events, to support them in addition to what you're teaching them in the membership or the course or the product that they have access to, then you 100% can do that. It is really great for retention and ascension into your other products. I'm a huge advocate for it. Obviously, under the right circumstances, I'm a huge advocate for it, but it's pretty simple. So if you have a course, your course community exists for the amount of time in which the course lasts. So let's say it is a 6-week course, or a 6-module course, you're going to teach it over 8 weeks, and the community lasts 8 weeks. And maybe you tack a couple more weeks on because you're going to be selling them into your membership at the end. Go for it. Sure. But it is finite. The course is finite. So the community is finite. Do not, whatever you do, please do not give people a special community for your course. And then when they stop, like that course is over, allow them to continue to have access to your community. It's just the law of diminishing returns. Don't do that. They can hang on to your free community if they want to. Now, if you have a subscription, membership, continuity, there's so many names for it right now, recurring revenue, pick one. If you have one of those kinds of programs and you want to have a community around it, then obviously, as long as they're a paying member, they would get access to the community. And then the other question he had is, what happens when I launch a group coaching program or a mastermind that's a higher level from the current community that they're in? Should they have a separate community? And the answer is, yeah, they should probably have a separate community. Now, does that mean it needs to be another Facebook group? Maybe not. Maybe it's a really small group and they need a Voxer channel. Or like I have a retention consulting program that is a small group consulting program, and they have a Slack channel because that Slack is integrated with what they're doing already. All their teams, everybody's already integrated to Slack, so it made sense. We have just a small community there where we have discussions, right? So if I had a free community, would it be on Slack? Heck no, it wouldn't be on Slack, right? So you get to decide how this all fits, but it's not one size fits all for anybody. But I wanted you to be thinking about, first off, the old school versus the new school model, product first versus community first, and then really getting clear on the purpose of a free community, the purpose of the paid community, or the community that supports your paid product, right? Because those are different. And then when you do have a higher level something, they have different levels of conversation, okay? They have different needs, and they would need a separate community as well. It could be a Voxer channel. It doesn't have to be the same community platform. So, long story short, here's what I want you to know. If you haven't created products yet, create the community first. Ask lots of questions, get to know them, build the energy, create the products for that community based on what you're learning, right? If you already have products, you want to be asking, how does a community either support somebody in becoming a perfect purchaser for that product? And that's our free community. Or support them in implementing and getting results and making progress with the product that they've purchased. And then that is the paid community. I feel like I'm doing a tongue twister like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers right now with all of the P's. But I just wanted to give you that summary. I shared this in the comments of that group, and I thought, you know what? Community creators, y'all need to hear this because I have way different audiences listening to this, and I totally get that. Some of you are 7- and 8-figure business owners. Some of you are community managers for those business owners. Some of you want to be community managers, and some of you haven't even launched your groups yet. You haven't even started your first community. So hopefully this gives clarity to all of you on how you can leverage community better in your particular business.